There is an ACL tear epidemic going on right now. Over 200,000 ACL tears are happening in the US alone every single year. If you think there's about 10K on average per surgery, that's about $2 billion spent on ACL surgeries every single year. And so many people go on to not only tear their ACL once, but twice, maybe 3 times. I spoke to people that have had 6 ACL tears, some in their left leg, some in their right leg. And these 3 exercises, which I'm going to talk about today, 100% of the people that have come to me after an ACL surgery cannot do these. And I think that if before their injuries they could have done these, they would have a way less likely chance of doing them. And after their knee surgeries, if they got to the point where they could do them at the levels that we want them to do them, there would be a way less likely chance of re-tearing ACLs. We've had people come to us and say that they don't even feel like they've had a knee injury a year after their surgery because they have worked with us for the last 6 months and got to standards that are beyond anything else. There was one girl that came to us. She went back to her football, or soccer, she calls it, she's in America, college, and she went in a strength training room and she done 4 Nordics in a row, going both down and up. And her strength coach said, wow, I've never even seen anyone hold the way down fully. No wonder there's an ACL epidemic when that is the case. And that is a direct test of how well we can handle our knee being pried apart. So let's get into these 3 exercises which I think could change the ACL epidemic rates. First, we have to look at the position in which the ACL has the most stress on it and has the most tears. It's in this amount of degrees here, shown on this, 15 and 30 degrees. So this knee angle, we have 1 exercise for the front of the knee and 1 exercise for the back of the knee. The front of the knee is the Poliquin step up. This exercise directly puts stress in this angle so that the ACL is the limiting factor. Now, most people would say, well, isn't that a bad thing, putting pressure directly on the ACL? Well, no, because the research shows that the ACL can actually hypertrophy. It can get thicker and stronger over time with cyclic tension, which is just repeated effort, in shallow knee angles, in this knee angle that I'm talking about. So the introduction of the reverse step up would change people's lives as long as it's done in a manner in which we can handle. If we start from flat ground and there's no pain, there's no swelling after, there's no issue that this causes us, and then we just slowly progress it so they get a little bit higher, a little bit higher, a little bit higher, working over time to the point where we can do 6-inch step ups with the perfect form with over 50% of our body weight. And the standards are going to be a little different for men and women because they have different strength standards. But I haven't seen a single person come to me after ACL surgery that hasn't been doing my stuff that can do a 6-inch Poliquin step up. And I actually haven't seen anyone that can get to all of the standards I'm going to talk about and is worried about having more knee injuries with the stuff that they're doing. With the step up, we do have to be really careful with this, and a regression to this would be the backward sled, because if you look at it, the eccentric load is taking away in the sled. It's the exact same knee position, but it's only concentric. We bypass the eccentric, which is when the tissue is lengthening, and we push through the concentric, which is when the tissue is contracting, in this case the quad. So if we do the sled, we do the sled, we do the sled, and then we start doing a flat ground step up, maybe even with assistance, taking some body weight off our knee, and then working up over time to the point where we can do 3-inch step ups, then loading there a little bit for a while, and then building to the point where we do 4-inch step ups, 5-inch step ups, and then eventually 6-inch step ups, depending on your height. Obviously, the smaller you are, the more stress this is going to be, the higher you go. But this would change the ACL indefinitely if we'd done this over a long period of time, 6, 12 months, 2 years. I've now been doing step ups for 4 or 5 years, and I want them to test my ACL. I had a partial ACL to probably 4 or 5 years ago now, and I wonder what my ACL looks like. It's like it's probably completely fine. Like, that'd be interesting for me to get a scan, right? But that is the first exercise. Please take your time with all of these exercises, regress them to your current level. Please master form before you start loading up on any of this stuff. It is about consistent stimulus over time that's not breaking you down loads and loads and loads, but can add up over time. So do not rush any of these exercises. The second exercise we'll then talk about is on the back side of the knee, so the Nordic curl. Again, the Nordic curl is a test of how well we can resist our knee being pried apart. And it is a knee flexion exercise, which means we are flexing the knee, we are closing the joint, we're bringing the hamstring and the calf closer together. And Charles Poliquin said that the knee flexion is like the second ACL because of its role in deceleration, in stability of the knee. If you look at a Nordic curl versus a hamstring curl, you're going to understand why the Nordic curl is so good, because this angle exactly where the ACL tears is the hardest portion in the Nordic curl. You get down to this end range of motion. That is where the exercise is the hardest. Amazing. So it's sport specific, it's ACL specific. And we see the people that get to the point where they can hold 5 reps down on a full eccentric and come back up with perfect form are way more protected than people that can't. And again, we have a regression for this. So the lying leg curl is a great exercise which can be substituted for this. You can start doing this for 4, 5, 6 months. Really build up the strength on this before you even touch Nordics if you wanted to. Nordics are more of a long-term test than the lying leg curl is because of the long-range effect. Third thing then is the deep knee bend. Specifically, I'm going to be talking about the A to G split squat because it is a mobility exercise. So we're getting a full range of motion in the knee, and research has shown that the ligament gets its nutrients from blood flow and synovial fluid, which we can get in deep knee bends. So progressing this over time is super important. People usually struggle with range of motion in their knee when they're coming off an ACL surgery, as well as stability of their knee, which the stability is going to be really hit with the Poliquin step up, and this range of motion is going to be hit with the ACG split squat. 100% of the people that have come to me after an ACL surgery have not been able to do this exercise on flat ground first time. We have had to start them on elevation and with floss bands as well, and that's absolutely fine, even with assistance, with people putting 2 chairs next to them and being able to regress this exercise. But over time, we do want to build this exercise to the point where we can have full range of motion in the knee, hamstring covering the calf on flat ground, and eventually start to load it as well. This is going to make our tissues in the knee stronger, healthier, not just the muscles around it. And therefore, our ACL is going to be more protected. I could walk through 1,000 things on the ACL right now, and I do have a video where I go through 10 steps that we look at in order to bulletproof our ACLs in our rebuild stage. We go through rejuvenate, rebuild, return sport. In our rebuild phase, I made a video on the 10 steps in ACL bulletproofing, and if you want to watch that, that is on my channel, so you can have a look at that. But if you could only do 3 exercises, these are the exercises that I would choose. These are the standards that I would choose to get to: the Poliquin step up, the Nordic curl, and the ATG split squat. This could change people's knees forever, and has been changing people's knees forever. I hope this helps, and if you are going for an ACL injury and you've been cleared to strength train by a physio, we would love to help you build to these standards over time, to personalize your program to your situation, and to get you back to doing the stuff you love, whether it be football, whether it be any kind of sport. We have helped a bunch of people to be able to do the same. So if you want to do that, apply in the description down below.